So Dr. Nkosozana Dlamini Zuma leading the AU delegation, you're the chairperson of the African Union Commission, speaking to us here in Havana, on your way to Santiago for the final chapter in these 9 days of mourning. Madam Zuma, what message do you bring with you from Africa to the Cuban people?
Well, first, our condolences to the government, the people, the family. But at the same time, we want to say thank you to Fidel and to the Cuban people, because under Fidel, Africa was more or less part of Cuba. Whatever difficulties we faced, Cuba was there with us. So we want to celebrate this extraordinary life, an extraordinary human being who was driven by the love of humanity. He hated to see anyone oppressed, even if it meant sending his people to make the highest sacrifice to see other people free. He did it. He hated to see people without health services, without education. So as we speak, we have thousands and thousands of Cubans in Africa, in Latin America, doctors, teachers, engineers, and others. As we speak, we have thousands and thousands of students here from Latin America, from Africa. But all this done by a country that doesn't have wealth. It just has the love of people. But also we're in an extraordinary country, which is small, not rich, but its people are educated. 60% of Cubans have a junior degree. They have the highest literacy rate, very low infant mortality. They have high life expectancy. So the Cuban government, through Fidel, invested a lot in its people. And that's what we need.
It's interesting, we've just celebrated World AIDS Day, and Cuba, of course, became the first country anywhere in the world to stop the transfer of HIV, the mother-to-child transmission of HIV anywhere in the world. They've been remarkable, certainly, in terms of many aspects, despite, as you say, the economic situation and the poverty that people experience here.
Yes, in fact, Fidel once said to me, you know, people with money have problems. Money gives them problems. That's why they can't give free education to their people. They can't give free health because they have money and it's giving them problems. We don't have money, so we don't have a problem. We do what our people need. And that's remarkable. But it just shows that it depends on your policies, on your view of the world and the view of your own people and the view of your priorities. Because a lot of us, when we talk about our economies, we talk about GDP. But here they'll tell you the statistics about what progress human beings have made in Cuba. They will not bore you with lots of figures about the GDP, but they'll tell you what the health indicators, what the human indicators are, which is the most important people. Whatever we do, it must be to improve the lives of our people.
Despite the adoration, Dr. Dlamini Zuma, that Fidel Castro clearly enjoys in many parts of the world, there are his detractors, there are regions of the world where people don't necessarily agree with his approach, particularly on the question of human rights and freedom of speech. Speak to those issues, if you will.
Well, yes, there may be people who don't like him, but probably they also don't like the progress that Cubans have made. They probably don't have the same record in terms of investing in human beings. Yes, it's okay to fight for freedom of speech, but what freedom of speech will you have if you are hungry, you are illiterate, you don't have shelter, you haven't got health services? What freedom of speech? So I think these things must be taken into context. And so you can see the Cuban people are very sad that he has gone, but they love him. And so And that's why he survived so long, because his protection was his people. If his people didn't protect him, he probably wouldn't have lived this long.
A final question for you before I let you go. What do you make of the trajectory that Cuba is on now? The new policies under President Raul Castro opening up the economy. Of course, there's still the issue of the U.S. embargo. Just speak to those issues, if you will.
Well, I think any policies have to be dynamic and they have to move with time, because there's nothing that's permanent on earth. Things change. So Cuba also is changing according to the prevailing conditions at this point in time. So I think it's good that they are looking at what is going on, what can improve their economy, and doing what they need to do. Nothing can remain static forever. Things must change, and that's precisely what they are doing.
You have a flight to catch. Let me release you for that, Dr. Nkosozana Dlamini Zuma. Thank you very much indeed.
You are welcome. Thank you.
The outgoing AU Commission Chair speaking to us here in Havana, Cuba.
Now, a private funeral service will be held for Castro.